Sean Richard from Brothers Against Guns is here. Reverend Amos Brown, the president of the NAACP, Minister Christopher, who has been spearheading the Coalition for Justice for Mario Woods, and I thank you all so much for being here today. My resolution, along with Supervisor Cohen, regarding yet another tragic death of an African American man at the hands of the San Francisco Police Department, is a resolution calling for an independent federal investigation of the shooting. The Department of Justice office is conducting a collaborative reform review of the policies, procedures, and training of the San Francisco Police Department as well. And these are important steps. But as the San Francisco Chronicle has said, what will help rebuild community trust in the department is an outside independent investigation, preferably from an institution with unimpeachable integrity and the authority to look at the big picture of whether the department has deep-seated problems with misconduct. Adding the investigation requires a rigor of independence that will lead to its credibility. The Task Force on 21st Century Policing, commissioned by President Obama, also recommended as one of the 6 pillars of best practices that police departments proactively request independent investigations of police-involved shootings in order to improve transparency and community relations. The U.S. Department of Justice investigated the October 2014 shooting of Laquan McDonald by the Chicago Police Department, and following requests from Illinois officials is now investigating whether the patterns and practices of the Chicago Police Department violate the civil rights of residents. I think San Francisco needs to follow Illinois' example.
Yeah.
Investigation of the shooting of Mario Woods itself. My resolution today will put that request officially on record.
Yeah.
These items are so important to me because I know the pain of the folks here today. I have felt it myself. I mourn the loss of far too many young African Americans in my life. And since December 2nd of last year, I mourn yet another. A century and a half ago, Harriet Tubman described her escape from slavery. I had crossed the line, she said. I was free, but there was no one to welcome me to the land of freedom. I was a stranger in a strange land. Even now, we know there is no freedom without the right to be equal and to be welcomed and to feel safe in our own communities. Too many African Americans and Latinos and people of all races oftentimes are dying on our streets, and too often they're dying at the hands of those who are sworn.
Right.
We hear you and we are taking action. Supervisor Cohen and I, along with our colleagues, Supervisor Yee, Avalos, and Campos, have called for a hearing on the police department's use of force, and we hope to see you all at that hearing on Thursday the 21st. I invite you. Training and procedures and how we can improve those procedures in order to prevent the escalation and the violence that has persisted for far too long.
Yes.
The ultimate goal is to put the right policies in place so this never happens again. federal investigation of the shooting death of Mario Woods. I wrote and today am submitting legislation to create a permanent reward fund to help solve unsolved homicide cases in this city. Supervisor Campos and Avalos have introduced a resolution expressing our shared sympathy for Mario Woods and his mother. I am discussing with Minister Christopher the option to reestablish the Community Police Relations Board, which he spearheaded. A board which he served as the leader of that board, along with folks like Reverend Brown and Sean, and also members of the police department, members of the community, who met on a regular basis to discuss how we can not only make the department better and hold them accountable, but how we can make sure that we continue to work on this relationship every single day. We rejected the $300 million jail, and my resolution instead will create more mental health capacity and is on the agenda today. And lastly, I think we need to improve the political atmosphere about police-community relations in general.
Yeah.
The Police Officers Association should be building bridges, not fighting them.
Yeah.
I stand by my colleague Supervisor Cohen, and we will not be intimidated by each other.
Yeah.
Violence in our city, or the tragedy of a life cut short by those who are called to protect them. We will do everything we can to ease your pain, with the hope that no one else will endure this life. Colleagues, before I read a statement from Supervisor Cohen, I ask you to indulge me for a moment. We have Sean Richard here today from Brothers Against Gun, and I'd like to take an opportunity to invite him and the mother of Mario Woods up for comments to the members of the board. Ms. Gwen Woods, you are welcome to join the board.
People came into this community of San Francisco, and my dad, straight out of Beaumont, Texas, was naval. And that's when Sonny Hill was naval. He bought our first home when I was 7. I went back to Houston, bought a home, and that's where basically my mom got terminal cancer. And I came back with my sons. And we were born and raised here. Mario was born and raised here. We didn't move in here. We were born and raised here. It was a more diverse. I came up under the Aliotos, the Feinsteins, the Jerry Browns. It was a much more diverse climate and embracing climate.
What happened?
We went through all these changes, and I just, one thing I can't seem to understand. If we don't recognize that people quote these racist, sexist, homophobic messages, because every time I wake up in the middle of the night, I see my son in the stands being shot down like an animal, and they said that in their email. Shoot us down like animals. If we don't do anything about that, it's going to happen again. Somebody's going to die, he's going to die the same way. I don't get it. Any other corporation, zero tolerance policy, you can't go back to work.
Right. That's right.
You kill my child like an animal, they said it. That was their emails. That was their text messages. That was their message that they sent to us in the community.
all the board members. I just feel, Mr. Smith, won't you come on up, please? You know, Brother Brown, guys, come on up, please, Brother Brown. I just feel that, honestly, as I think back, I think about Paulette's son, I think about Maddie Scott's son, I think about Salah's son and the 3 young men that was gunned down the quadruple, and I think about Rose Richards' sons, which is my mother and my 2 brothers. And I think about December 2nd. But when I think about December 2nd, I think more of seeing it on social media over and over and over again. I think about how his mother had endured and see this, her son, gunned down on social media. I think about how she went to 3 different locations to get information about her son. And she was rejected each time. When she went to Bayview Station, very disrespectful, we can't help you. She went to San Francisco General, we can't help you. She went down 850 Bryant, very disrespectful, we can't help you. And this mother didn't find out about her son until the next day at 10 o'clock. She shouldn't have to go through that. And I said to all the board members here, it happened in District 10, but it can happen in any one of your districts. And when if it happens in one of your districts, you want the same support in your district that this mother wants. So you guys gotta understand that it's not just about Black Lives Matter, but that's the importance. But it's about human life.
Yes.
And we gotta accept the fact that we can do more as board supervisors, the mayor. You agree with me, won't you? That you agree with me, won't you?
Yeah.
And everybody in here that support Mrs. Woods, please stand up. This is the community, y'all. Understand. I lost 2. And many that stand up lost loved ones. Do more than what you're doing. I've been doing Brothers Against Guns for 20 years. And I take this seriously. I don't play with this. We have to understand, when you're wrong, and stand up against wrong. When you're right, we support you. But we have to do what we have to do. So when we call for a full investigation and murder charges of those officers, as she mentioned, the mother, how can they go back to work?
That's right.
Because if I did something wrong on my job, I will be in jail or I can't go back to work. So board members, I close with this. I ask you, as you look me in my eyes, sincerely, deeply, see that mother's pain. See her pain. And just hope that you don't lose a family member like that. Because as I talked to Minister Christopher this morning, he said, Sean, watch the video. I only watched it one time, but I watched it again today. And my heart is heavy. It's heavy. I know we deal with police brutality, but we also got to take back that we're dealing with other crimes, black on black crimes, and other crimes that's occurring. So we got to take heed to this, you guys, please, supervisors. As I pass the mic to the minister and Reverend Brown, please look at this mother as she suffers. December 2nd, she will never see her baby again. All she has is memories. Thank you.
president of this August body, members of the board, I sat where you're sitting now. Did it 20 years ago on this board. I'm very much aware of many requests that have been made by the citizenry of this town. But there have been no more noble, humane, decent, civil requests than what you have heard from these fellow members of the African American community. It appears that the black community has been rendered invisible in this town. Check out the Chronicle this past Sunday.
That's my dad.
The spin of the article. The import was, you might as well forget about the Fillmore,
Sorry.
calling them pallbearers to bury the African American business community. Shame, shame, shame on San Francisco.
Yes.
We must stop living this lie that we are a progressive, liberal town.
Tell it.
Condoleezza Rice was right when she said, America's birth defect is race. And San Francisco has helped to nurture that defect. Where else would it be in this crusted earth that one ethnic group would lose since 1970 60,000 people? More people than the old Candlestick Park, which were accommodated. And yet the faith community, the academic community, the political community, and the social communities go on as if nothing happened. And we maintain business as usual. I plead with you. I beg you this afternoon to not let the words of Mrs. Woods fall on deaf, insensitive ears. You might say, oh, I'm not of that mind and that view. But it has happened before. In this town, they call me the funeral preacher. I have presided over more funerals of young African American males and females who were dead before the deadline. Bible promised us 70 or 80 years if by reason of strength. We have too many young African Americans dying 15 to 35 years old in this time. For the record, I want to conclude by saying, the NACP, like a prophet in the wilderness, stood up in the wake of Ferguson, right here at the City Hall in room 201. I said to the Chief of Staff, to the police chief, Ferguson is in San Francisco.
Yes, it is.
The chief jumped up and said, oh, no. This is liberal, progressive San Francisco. But I respectfully say, Chief, I know that in terms of geography, Ferguson is in Missouri. And we are here on the bay. But in terms of attitude and the worst practices of police officers, not all of them, but too many of them, this is Ferguson. And I was vindicated. Most recent egregious instance of Ferguson being mirrored here, reflected here, is when Mario Ward was gunned down. Execution style. And I know that it's been said there was a black person who allegedly fired the first shot. But it does not matter because as Thurgood Marshall, the great jury said, a black snake is just as deadly as a white snake. A snake is a snake. And we ask you to hold your hope. Don't be intimidated by the Police Officers Association. They have refused to talk with the African American community. Throwing up a firewall in San Francisco. And the press needs to record that. What are they scared of? What are they running from? They need to come together and not turn on us. But in times of crisis, such as these times, we shouldn't be divided. My teacher and friend Martin Luther King Jr. was right. We're going to either learn how to live together as brothers and sisters, or we're all going to perish as fools. I know San Francisco was not going to be called a fool. I hand out to all you members of this august body and to the press a copy of a document that represents blood, sweat, and tears and the input of this black community. We've been meeting, and we hope that you will see that we're on our way toward being a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. Thank you very much.
Would you like to make some remarks as well?
Yes.
We know that you've taken the leadership on the Coalition for Justice in Marietta Woods, and we want to make sure you have an opportunity to say something.
For your courage, Madam Board President, and certainly those old members of this Board of Supervisors. It's been a while since I've been before you. 5 years ago I pledged never to come back, but some things are so significant in history that they require you to take a stand. The murder of this young man touched me so deeply and touched the world so deeply. In my nearly 56 years on this planet, I've never seen what I saw on videotape that day. This mother grieves for her son. It was her precious womb that gave birth to this young man, who was about to start a job the next day at UPS. But as we said to the mother, that was not the will of God. Ultimately, He gives life and He permits death. But He chose this young man as a martyr for this movement that now is sparking the anger, the frustration of an entire world of people who are crying out for justice. So the spotlight of the world is on San Francisco. Very interesting that Super Bowl 50 will be coming here in a few weeks. Very interesting that text gate came out where officers said, as Mother Woods shared with us, a sergeant, a trainer of officers, a teacher of officers,
Right.
said, it's okay. It's okay. It's not against the law to put an animal down. Those words were prophetic because these officers did not look at Mario Woods as a human being.
Wow.
They looked at him in that instance as an animal. In fact, worse than an animal, because a dog would not have been shot at 40 times. You know as well as I that a white male on Lombard Street or Castro Street, if he were Mario Woods on Lombard Street or Castro Street, the whole city, the community, and the world would be outraged. But the silence among some has been deafening. It should never have taken the mayor of this city 5 days to speak. He has never even offered condolences to this mother. A month later, she has not heard
Why?
from this man.
Why? Why?
Something's wrong. Something's not just wrong, something's very wrong.
Right.
When a mother can't get a call from the father of this city. And then the mayor came out and said the answer is tasers.
Oh.
Please wait. If tasers were in the hands of those officers with the mind that they have, if one shoot, we all shoot, then Mario Woods would have been electrocuted